Welcome. My name is Reverend Gregory Holston, and again, welcome to this next episode of Just Nation, a show dedicated to faith, justice, and race issues here in the city of Philadelphia and beyond. And I'm so happy to have these wonderful guests here today, and again, my co-host, Nia Holston, to talk about an issue that is powerful with powerful stories. These powerful women of color who are involved in the labor union movement within the city. Nia, it's great to see you again, and great to be another part of another episode.
Yeah, it's great to be here with our esteemed guests tonight. So happy to have you all tuning in once again, and I believe we're in for a great show.
Yes, absolutely. And so I'm going to start to my right here. Would you just introduce yourself and the union you're representing, and a little bit about yourself, if you could. Can I start with you, Nicole?
So my name is Nicole Hunt. I'm president of Unite Here Local 634, the union that represents the school cafeteria workers across the city of Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And I started as a food service worker, and worked my way up to shop steward, and eventually where I am now.
Excellent. So glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And am I right, Ronnie?
Hi, my name is Ronnie Green, and I represent SEIU Local 668. I started as a shop steward in the public service sector, and I worked my way up to state representative, Ronnie Green, representing North Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, Winfield Heights, and Nicetown.
Great. Excellent. Thank you for being with us today.
And we have Ms. Cruz to my left. If you want to
Yes,
introduce yourself.
Call me Daisy Cruz. I am here representing SEIU 32BJ. I am the district director for the Mid-Atlantic 1201 district that represents Eastern Pennsylvania and the state of Delaware. And I started off as a bilingual receptionist for SEIU Local 36 before we merged with SEIU 32BJ in 2005. And I am the district director now.
Okay, great. So,
Yeah, sure.
so I think we just want to start by just learning a bit more about all of you, right? And what brought you to this incredibly important work, you know, representing workers, representing working people, being a working person, and finding importance in movement building amongst union workers, right? So I just want to start, and we'll start with you. We'll start with you, Daisy. Sure. Just about what brought you to this work, and what continues to motivate you doing this work.
Sure. So just like I mentioned earlier, I was hired as the office, the SEIU 32, the SEIU Local 36 office did not have anyone who spoke Spanish. So I was brought in as a bilingual receptionist. And I didn't know much about unions, but what I did learn was that we were representing property service workers, cleaners and engineers back then, and some residential workers. And then over the years, and that was back in 1998, over the years, we just continued to organize workers. And this, in the Philadelphia, Delaware area, we went from a 4,000 property service worker union to now to 12,000. Property Service Union represents food service workers, Philadelphia School District, cleaners, bus drivers, airport workers, security officers, and what drives me to do this work every single day on purpose, I have to get up every single day and just know that I'm not only fighting for like the our membership, but also fighting for working people, because working people need a voice. So that's what just drives me every single day. And I'm also blessed to be part of an amazing team of staff. Not one person can do it. We just all bring a lot to the table.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Nicole, tell us a little bit about your journey.
So I was started with the school district in 2001. I started off as just a regular. I needed a job because I was a single parent. I needed a job in the city of Philadelphia because every job I had before that was outside of the city. So I needed something to be close to my children. So I got hired with the school district as a food service worker one. My youngest son was like sickly when he was young. And so it was times that I would have to take off from work, or he would call this cafeteria, and it was just I didn't like the way that my manager was treating my son when he called like he was sick, because they were latchkey kids. And so she would do like just different mean things to him as a young boy when he would call. And so I called the union and was trying to get advice, because my mom was a union person, 1199C. She worked at Temple Hospital for over 30 plus years. And so my mom said, well, call the union and they should be able to help you. And when I called the union, they told me that my job was more important than my child.
Oh.
So that made me angry. And so I said, well, I went to a union meeting and I made sure that I sat in front of the union leadership. It was a trustee at the time, because I wanted him to see the person that he told that my job was more important than my child. And so I just didn't like the way the union was run. And so I decided to be more involved, because nobody should tell you that your job is more important than your child. Wow. So I strictly got involved with the union because I was mad, at what he told me. And then I started seeing different things, and I started becoming shop stewards. And so from then, I just decided to be the change. It's cliche, but I decided to be the change that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a powerful story about, again, we are regular people, deal with regular issues, and that at some moment, you decided to take leadership and step forward. And now look where you are, representing 12,000, representing 2,000 people in their lives, and making sure that justice is done for them.
And before we move on, I think it's really important to note what you're saying here, which is that you were taking care of other people's children. And you were required to do that as a part of your job. But your union was telling you not to take care of your own child.
Exactly,
right?
that's exactly
And so
right.
that's so important. It's so important to have a voice, right?
That's
And
exactly
to
right.
speak out and to continue to be a part of building the world that we want to see, where all people are able to take care of their children. All people are given dignity to be able to support their families. And so I just, that struck me as you were talking.
Well, yeah, I guess it struck me even more than she then took over the union. Which that could probably only happen quite that way in a union.
That's exactly
Because of the rights of workers to be able to have a say in their own union.
Right.
And that you could transform and change that attitude or that belief that particular trustee had over the union. So that's an excellent story for anybody out there who's thinking about building a union, being a part of a union, or even frustrated with your union. You can make a change in your own union by using the rules that are there to your advantage. Ronnie, why don't you tell us a little bit of your story?
Well, unionism didn't come to me at the workplace initially. There was a supermarket chain, A&P. I had to be about maybe 8 or 9, and my dad took me to a strike at the A&P market to show me how workers came together to fight for the issues that they cared about on their job. He also told me that there was a name for people who crossed the picket line. And when he told me the name, I knew I never wanted to be called that name. So I have never, ever crossed the picket line, and I would never will. I'm working for the Department of Human Services, and I'm in my office, and I'm listening to a supervisor who is also a union member, berate a worker on the floor in front of her peers so badly that I couldn't take it another second. I just spun around in my chair and I just started with how disrespectful. How disrespectful that you couldn't even take this person off the floor and have a conversation with them in the privacy of your office. That you would come out on the floor and berate a worker. So then I became the target. But I then went and found the contract book and employee handbook. And I wanted to know what the rights of management was and what the rights of workers were. And as I started to learn more about what my rights were, I started to exercise those rights. And then I became a shop steward, and I started to fight for workers in the Department of Public Welfare.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just, again, powerful stories of different backgrounds that you've come from, different experiences, And usually they believe that people say you have to have a certain degree of education or college or whatever to ascend to these kind of leadership roles. But that's the powerful thing about a union, that you can come in and simply be a part of the union
Right.
and begin to lead and have your natural leadership power start to come forward, and your
Right.
fellow workers recognize that power.
Right.
So exciting to hear these stories. So what has been your proudest moment as a labor leader?
You know, it's funny for me because my proudest moment is right now. You know, one of my proudest moments is right now. When I see 317 strikes across this country that affects 450,000 people, I say yes, yes, because that tells me that people are recognizing the power that they have within their own voice, you know, and they are seeing the successes of other unions, that they're getting better benefits, and that they're getting a retirement that they can retire on, a pension that they can retire on with dignity. Those are the cornerstones of the labor movement.
Yes.
You know, so to see people fighting back, you know, we have a saying, when working families come under attack, what we do, stand up and fight back. That's what we do. So I'm happy to see that people are saying no, you know, and that they are willing to fight and sacrifice. You know, when you go on a strike, it's hard. There's no, you know, that's a hard decision to make because it not only affects the worker, it affects their families.
Yes.
You know, and it's hard if you ever recoup that which you have lost. You know, so for people to make the decision to go on strike, they have exhausted every other avenue that they had to try to get to a resolution, and they couldn't. So right now, I have to be one of the proudest union people in the country, in the US of A, right now.
Yeah, Nicole, what's your proudest moment?
So my proudest moment is just recently, our union just won a historical contract with the School District of Philadelphia. We get almost $5 raise for folks over 4 years, with different sign-in bonus, legal funds, scholarship, trainings, walkie-talkies, which is ridiculous that we had to fight for that. But, you know, it's just that, you know, for years, we always have been a union that has been overlooked because in the school district, you have a larger union that's just PFT. And so it's always, when anything happens, it's always like PFT, but they forget about Local 634. But we was able to come out and show that we are still workers, we are here, we're in a union, and this contract is historical. Like we shamed the district about having workers working on welfare. Like nobody should be working every day, taking care of these children in the city of Philadelphia, and also have to collect a welfare check. And so this is one of the proudest moments in I can't say my life, but my union life, because I'm a parent and grandparent. So, but this is one of the proudest. This contract is historical, and I know that we fought to get here, and it's just the beginning.
Before the contract, what was the base wage?
So our lowest paid people were making $15.50. That just started in August, and so they moved up by. Next year, they'll be all $17. The lowest paid would be $17 on up, and so which is great. We even had the district accept that because they were paying below the city living wage, and so we got them retro people back to the $15.71 for the city living wage. So folks would get a retro check coming up soon, and they still got their raise. We got $1.50 for the first year.
Nice.
$1.50 for the first year of our contract.
What union work will get you? Get you a retro check.
And a sign-in bonus, and a sign-on bonus, which will hit their paychecks this
Y'all
week.
better fight to get yourself
Yeah.
get that retro.
So I think that's the proudest moment for me, and I'm just happy that, you know, a lot of folks are living, had to do, like Unite Here, the slogan is one job should be enough, and I believe that.
Yeah.
And now I have had a member say, oh, I'm cutting back the hours at my other job because I don't need it anymore because we just got a
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's powerful.
Great
Yeah.
job.
That's wonderful.
And Daisy.
I think, you know, for we've had so many moments, and I think for now, right now, just like piggybacking off of like Nicole, we just finished bargaining a contract for close to 3,000 property service workers downtown, cleaners and engineers and maintenance mechanics. In a time that after the pandemic, the commercial office buildings are not the same. We don't have tenants who are coming back into these buildings, but our members worked during the pandemic. They didn't have the option to stay home and be paid, work remotely. They were in these buildings every single day, cleaning these buildings, disinfecting these buildings, make sure that these buildings were running. So our contract was scheduled to expire on October 15th. We went into bargaining August 22nd, and we were able to get a tentative agreement, I think it was October 4th, where we were able to protect the members' family coverage that the employers pay for. We were able to increase their pension, their retirement 401k, and get an amazing wages as well. By the end of the contract, a lot of those workers were making $25 an hour. And these are workers who've been doing this job for over 30 years. They fought for this contract. Those are the workers that if we have to go on strike, they will lock themselves to the building, handcuff themselves to the building, lay themselves on the ground, and just to work, just to do that job. So that is, at this moment, that is my proudest moment, because when you're in it, you're emotional about it. You're so excited that you got it done. But it's all because the only reason we're really getting it done because those workers were out there in the street. We always say, bargaining happens at the table, but the real bargaining happens out in the street.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to return to what you said, Representative Ronnie Green. I know we're on a first name basis.
Yes, we are.
I want to put some respect on your name. But you mentioned the 317 strikes that are going on across the country. And, I think it's so important to just talk about, how we got here, how we got to this moment in time where across the country people are rising up and saying, it's not okay how you're treating us.
Right.
And so, there's been so much research into how labor unions have declined, and that was intentional, right? That was intentional by politicians to have a decrease in overall union membership, right? And so now we're in this moment where, people are unions are expanding to other, sectors, and people are fighting for benefits. But we're also in this moment where, the public is having a more general awareness of how dire the need is, right? Where you're talking about UPS workers that don't have air conditioning in their trucks, delivering packages, having to deliver so many packages in 120 degree heat without air conditioning, right? And there's so many examples of that. So I guess what I'm interested in this moment is, how can you speak to this moment, and how did we get here to this moment across the country?
So what I think, I can't speak about individual contracts or violations, but what I think is, when you sit around and you think about kitchen table issues, regardless of the politics, people go to work every day to take care of themselves and their families. When you walk down the supermarket and the prices are so high, when you pull into the gas station and the prices are so high, when you open an envelope and it's your utility companies, and your phone, and everything is increasing around you except your paycheck, eventually you're going to want to do something. When you can't take care of yourself, you look at Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has a $7.25 minimum wage. Okay? You tell people to work hard and be successful, but $7.25 is not success, it's failure. Okay? So, and I must say, in my role as state rep, I introduced the $18 minimum wage. We know that the minimum wage in this country has not kept up with inflation. We should be talking $20, $25 minimum wages, and we're not. And the House did pass a bill. That bill sits in the Senate, and it has not been passed. So we have people who think that they're going to get a raise in January of 2024 of $11, and it has not been passed yet. Okay? So when people is threatened that they cannot take care of themselves and their families, you have to start looking at connecting the dots.
Yes.
When you have low wages, we have homelessness. When you have low wages, we have increased crime. You know, why should a parent, I agree, Nicole,
Right.
one job should be enough.
Yes.
You have a parent or two parents working two jobs to get to $15 an hour. The children are left alone or not having the proper guidance, you know, because they're trying to pay the bills, put food on the table, and keep a roof over their heads.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to connect the dots. That leads to educational problems in schools with our children, you know. So there are high costs to low wages.
Yes.
Okay? We have to address the issue of minimum wage, not only in Pennsylvania, but across this country. And until we do, and give people a living wage where they can support themselves and their families, we are going to continue to have the problems and issues that we are faced with. You know what? When people say enough is enough, and they're willing to go out on the street
Yes.
and strike, that's sending a powerful message.
So the union movement that's happening now is really because of the low wages. And as a response to continually to have the minimum wage to be so low, the workers are feeling the only way they can raise their wages is by organizing
Yes,
themselves. into
absolutely.
unions.
And there's other issues,
Right.
because I can remember back in my early career as a public servant, we went to work and birds was flying around the building. The water was brown that came out the spigot. We had mice feces on the desk, and we had paper that was almost touching the ceiling, and people could smoke at their desk. I was scared to death. I thought that the place was going to catch on fire at any time. You know, but it took meetings and it took a strike, you know, and to bring about real solutions that when you tried to meet with management, you couldn't reach.
Yeah.
But miraculously, when you go on strike, you can.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that should not be.
Power concedes nothing without a demand.
There you go. There you go.
Daisy, are you having the same kind of experiences that Riley is talking about?
Definitely, you know, workers, just workers everywhere. Not only about wages, but just respect on the job, how they're treated. And we're definitely, you know, one of the things about SEIU is like we're always, people say pushing the envelope. We're just trying to organize outside of different sectors. You know, at one time the SEIU, well, 32BJ was known as the janitors union, and now we have organized federal security officers, airport workers, because people want a voice. People want to be able to, I mean, we're in the middle of a campaign for parking workers who can't even take a break to go use the bathroom. You know, those are, but they're parking your cars in these garages by themselves. You know, so these are the things that, you know, we're looking at. We're also seeing, you know, we're bargaining against trillionaires. We're not bargaining against people that don't have money.
That's
Like
right.
these are, a lot of these buildings are now converting into residential. Everywhere you go, there's some type of scaffolding happening around our city. And so we want to make sure that, you know, the members that we represent, the majority of the members that I represent here in Philadelphia live in this city. So it's like you raise their wages, they're going to bring it back into their neighborhoods.
Yes.
They're going to be able to pay their bills. We're not even asking for them to be able to like
Get
buy
condos.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, right.
We just put a bed in
Our members
city.
clean those condos, right? You know, they clean the
right.
Comcast towers. But it's just, we want to be able, our members want to be able to just take care of their families, live in a safe neighborhood, bring that money back into their neighborhoods, into their supermarkets, into their bodegas. You know, that's all that our members are asking for. But that's just working people just across our country, everywhere. They want to be able to take care of their families, not have to depend on public assistance,
Right.
not have to get a second job, and be able to raise their families.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear. Wages is a big part of a
Yes.
strike, but it's also working conditions,
Yes.
building conditions, workplace safety issues.
Yes.
You know, these are other things, respect and
Yes.
how you're treated
Yes.
on the job. So, you know, all of these things plays a part when you make the decision to go on strike.
Yeah.
You know, so I just wanted, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think that people have seen that it worked.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the main thing, because some
Success.
people are so scared to do it because they feel like they're going to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, if I barely can take care of my family now, if I was to strike or do anything, how would I take care of my family then? And, you know, and so I think people have found out that it works.
Right.
And people have realized that these buildings don't run without the
Yeah.
workers.
Right.
Yeah.
And before they thought that they needed the employer, they thought they needed the boss. But actually the boss needs us
Right.
to make these things run. And they have realized how much power they have. So I think people have recognized, I think starting with COVID, I think, you know, and all the protests and
Yeah.
things like that happened since then, people are recognizing how much power they have. How much this always about power.
So for the audience out there who may be in a non-union situation and afraid right now to deal with some of the working conditions on their job for fear that they may lose their job, how do they go about organizing and demanding a union?
Well, I think that, you know, sometimes nothing happens unless you try to do it. And I think that sometimes you may fail, but you have to put it out there. You have to try to make your life better. Because if you just settle, you know, you're never going to get anything. Nothing good comes easy.
Right.
And you have to struggle in order to make your life better. The boss can make so many different promises to you. A pizza party does not pay my bills.
Right.
It feeds me for the day, but it doesn't feed my household.
Preach.
So just because they say, well, we'll give you work lunch,
Right.
doesn't mean that
Right.
doesn't, but I can feed myself, but what about my children at home? So we got to understand that these promises that the bosses make in order to intimidate you and make
Yes.
you feel like you're wanted, and in a split second, they will change their mind and
That's
throw
right.
you under the bus and hire
right.
somebody for less.
That's right.
The boss would have you train your replacement because they want to hire somebody at a lower wage.
That's
And
right.
people got to understand the bosses are looking for their pockets to
Right.
line up, not your
Right.
pockets.
And
Right.
now let me ask you, because I think that's so important, right? Political education is so important. Do you feel like that's what's missing, where people don't understand the history of unions, where people don't understand their power, or people are told, you know, what are essentially lies about their own place in the workplace? And, you know, what role does political education play into, you know, what we're doing, and how do you do that in your own work, right?
I will start with Daisy.
Yeah, I mean, that's something it's funny that you're saying that, because sometimes we sit around as staff and we're like, sometimes we just got to get back to the basics, because our members don't know how the union became about, like just the history of the labor movement, and people don't know that. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves so that we can just sit down and just talk to the members, because there are members who fought to get that union or get that shop, and then there's people who just come into it when it's already established. So definitely, it's something, you know, that even we can do better. That you know, I was called a spade. Like it's something that we can always do better. But I have seen the difference. I have seen workers just, you know, stepping out, even workers that are not even in our sector, and we can send them to our sister or our sister, or, you know, our sister locals, and be like, this is who takes care of this sector, so that you can go ahead and organize. Because sometimes, you know, it just depends on what the union is actually doing at the time, or what sector we represent. But it's definitely come out. There's always somebody
Right.
that knows somebody else and can lead you in the right direction.
Right. You know, and most unions have a leadership training
Yes.
where we train our members, and most times it's like for a weekend or so, where they bring the members in and they train the members.
Yes.
You know, I often said that we are an organization or movement, you know, the labor movement. We are a movement who have wins every day, but the worst messaging ever.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
we win every
Yeah.
day for working people, but we have the worst messaging
Yeah.
ever. You know, so I would like to see, you know, unions message be out there more so that people know. because we do win. We win every day for working families in this country, but we just don't have the messaging.
Well, do you think part of it? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But do you think part of it has to do? And I'm getting kind of like extrapolating out here, but you know, so when we're talking about this, the quote that comes to mind is that John Steinbeck quote. It's just that every American thinks they're a millionaire in training, and I'm paraphrasing, right? And so the idea that there's almost an affinity for the boss and who's actually doing some of the oppressing you, right? Who's keeping your wages low, right? And so I guess when I'm wondering about political education, what can we do to sort of counteract that when it's very intentional in some cases where, you know, they're intentionally depressing wages or getting rid of jobs or, you know, having you train your replacement and things like that. What can we do about that to really help people understand that the boss is oftentimes not your friend?
Right. And Nicole hit it on the head when she said fear.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what the boss does. You know, they master the fear of their workers. You know, they bring in union busting attorneys. You know, I've seen them do one-on-one interviews. You know, they tell them all kinds of things, make all kinds of promises. You know, and as soon as the union go away, they revert back to what they did. They brought the union there from the beginning. You know, but for the fear of them losing their job, they will listen to the boss. You know, and then as business agents and union leadership, we have to fight harder to get them to understand that this is all a trap. You know, that this is not going to last. You know, oh, they're going like the pizza party, not the infamous pizza party, but the infamous pizza party. You know, they want to give you a pizza party. You know?
And sometimes it's not a pizza party, it's a fried chicken and a 40.
Don't say the other
And I
thing.
kid you not, that's what they did at the airport. They did that.
Yeah.
They actually put that flyer out and said, come to the party instead of coming to the union rally.
Yeah.
It was the same time.
Yeah.
You know, so they thought so little of the black and brown people there. They actually thought that would work. You know, and so the power of this is clear. And again, somebody out there may be thinking about, I like to be a part of a union. So, and they're on a non-union shop. So, I guess maybe some of the nuts and bolts are actually, if I want to do that, how do I do it? If I get over my fear, what's my first step?
And they want to reach out to a union that represents the work of that industry. That's the first step they should do. Reach out.
How did I find that out? How do I
So
get that?
if you are, you could Google.
That's not
Yeah.
what I was I was like,
I mean,
Google's my
Google,
friend.
Google
Yeah.
is your
Google
best
is
friend. So if you're a carpenter, or if that's the work that you're doing, and you want to bring, you know, you would carpenters unions in Pennsylvania. Oh, they're there. It's listed. You know, or if you're a public service worker, you know, who are my public service unions? And then you would make a phone call to the union. That's the first step in the right direction, and then the union will take it from there. Because what they're going to do is assign that call to a, help me Daisy,
An organizer.
They would assign that call to an organizer, and the organizer would reach out, you know, to the person, and in tandem, they would start to have conversations with other employees. You know, it has to be kept a little underground. Okay, because as soon as the employer get a whiff of it, that's when the battle starts.
Yeah.
You know, that's when the X comes on your back. Okay, because the first thing that they're going to do is try to terminate you. For some reason, it won't be because you know, trying to organize a union at their workplace. They'll say something else to get rid of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then let's talk about when you go public, right? So when you go public, when you come out from underground and you're ready to publicize the fact that you're starting a union, what happens then?
Well, a lot of people get terminated, okay? Which is illegal.
Right.
It's illegal
But they
to do
use
it.
other stuff,
But
like
they use-
attendance
Right, they
and-
use other things. So, you know, I would have the most strongest person, because you can file charges. You can
Yes,
file
the
charges
National Legal Board.
against the employer, and that should be done. So I would get the person with the best attendance, you know, the best worker, you know, that will make it a little difficult for the employer to come after, or if they do, make it a clear, precise picture that they were fired because or terminated because of union activity.
And the bosses also, like you said, offer TVs. They say, oh, here go a raffle. Don't join a union because we can give you a TV. The bosses have a side conversation with workers, tell them that the union, all they want to do is make you pay union dues, but they're not going to help you. So they go try to intimidate the workers and say, like, you know, look at this is what I gave you. You know, I gave you a job. You work 40 hours a week. You have a you have a free lunch every day. But if you have a union, we're going to have to stop all this, and you'll have to pay for your lunch. And your salary's going to be lower because you have to pay union dues. So they try to intimidate and they try to lie about what the union is going to do for them, and they say you don't want to do it. So a lot of times the bosses try to, like, you know, give out TVs.
And this is while a vote is pending, because there's a vote that eventually happens to formally have the
So
union.
it depends, each union does it a little different.
Yep,
And some unions do it a
Talk a
little
little
different.
bit about that.
So a lot of the work that we actually do is getting the majority of the workers. If we have the majority of the workers, what we push is, because we do have the National Labor Board, because everybody has a right to join a union. But a lot of, well, the way we practice is getting the majority of the workers, as long as we have 51% of the members or the workers who want to join a union, then we start with the organizer and the leadership, going with the employer and bringing the National Labor Board in, and then it's basically more, you know, just getting some type of recognition agreement that if we, the majority of the workers, recognize that they want to have a union, and it also depends, like, on the, like right now we're in the middle of the parking campaign, so it's also getting other parking workers, other parking companies, and, you know, we have what we call a trigger agreement, and trigger, like, the market, so that nobody's competing against each other, you understand? Like, so that if this employer goes union, there's not another employer in the same industry underbidding or taking those workers. So that's the way a lot of the work that we actually, that's the way we organize. But then there's also, we also do votes, and it's also getting the majority of the membership. Like you say, membership, the majority of the workers.
Right.
So so again, I'm an individual person.
Yes.
I'm in a non-union shop. I'm doing non-union work. First thing is I'm going to check to see what unions may actually organize in my
And that's it,
field.
yes.
Right.
And I'm going to quietly talk to them.
Right.
I'm not going to let anybody know anything.
Right.
And hopefully the organizing will help get to some kind of majority before it becomes public.
Right.
Yes,
And that organizer is trained to do
to
that.
do that, yes.
And you know, surprisingly, very rare, we have an employer who wants the union.
Yeah, I mean,
They, you know, they want the union to come in, and, you know, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a good process to go through. You don't have the bitterness, you don't have the fighting, you know, the infighting, you know, everyone is comfortable, you know, and everyone gets to go through that process, you know, learning how to negotiate, how to bargain in good
Yes.
faith, you know, and to, you know, the employer wants the best things for the employees. So, I
And
mean,
your
I
employees-
can't remember that ever happening in my career.
But
I know
But
of
I
one
do
that,
know-
that
but I know-
when
Yeah,
you treat
it's-
workers with respect, you're paying them good wages, and
Right.
we can honestly say, I think in all the work that we've done, the worker stays around longer.
Oh, absolutely.
The worker stays around because they can afford to take care of their family. They're not doing 2 or 3 jobs or just trying to find what's the best job. So it's you have good, I hate to use this word, but loyal employees that are happy to do their job.
I was gonna say, a happy worker
yes,
is a productive
yes.
worker, right?
We do have some good employers who are
Yes,
responsible employers,
do.
and and are about it.
Yeah.
So you would make the argument that unions are productive and good for employers.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
And
The
that
workers trained properly, gets the
Yeah.
proper training to do the work. And one of the things that sometimes we even have to remind, just even our membership, is like, there's nothing guaranteed. Just like you said, they can offer you a pizza party, they can offer you whatever, and as soon as the union leaves, they go back to their old ways. What is guaranteed is that collective bargaining agreement that
Yes.
the members and the employer came into a
Yes.
mutual agreement.
Legal
And
and
those are the
binding.
things that are guaranteed,
Yes.
your wages, your
Right.
benefits, your personal time, your vacation time,
Yes.
your holiday pay. In Pennsylvania, the only thing that's guaranteed is you can make $7.25.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
There's nothing that says you're going to get personal days, nothing says you're going to get vacation day,
Yeah.
but that's the power
Of
of
the
bargaining.
collective bargaining agreement, yep. And you know, the unions get a bad rap because they want to say that we adversary, you know, but we're not.
No.
You know, it's a collective bargaining
Right.
agreement. It's an agreement that the employer and the union sat across the table from and agreed on proposals and clauses. And so we're not here to run a person's business or take over a job. You know, we just want what's right and fair treatment for the workers
Right.
that work for them. You know, so if everything is good, workers don't come seeking in unions. Workers come seeking unions when all else has failed.
Ooh, I think that's a powerful point for those who are employers out there right now, even small businesses, that unions will make you more profitable. If you allow your workers to be unionized, it'll be better for your business, more healthy for your workers, and more prosperous in the long run for everyone. It may, in the short run, cost you some additional expense, but that expense will be well worth the investment as you
Correct.
invest in the workers.
Yes.
Really your best resource to
Yes.
be able to make profit for yourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I also want to just ask because, you know, I've known that there have been some very, very powerful union statements that are inherently political, right? People collectively coming together and saying, hey, this issue that affects our members, you know, or affects their working conditions, whether it's as broad as, you know, COVID protection measures, or the need for an increased minimum wage, or the conditions at the Philadelphia jails, right? The fact that you are in a union gives you a voice to speak collectively
Absolutely.
rather than you just speaking as an individual
Right.
and then having to get your boss's approval.
Right.
You can then speak on issues related to your employment. So if you're in the educational field and you're seeing students come in and they don't have, you know, they don't have what they need, you can speak on that collectively as a part of your union. And so, you know, if you can give an example of how that's, you know, played out in your unions where it's been important for you to speak collectively in terms of, you know, a political issue.
So I don't, it's not political, but I think like in this contract we just won far as trainings and walkie-talkies for student climate staff. So our members, they monitor students outside in the schoolyards during recess. And so we know we're in the city of Philadelphia where a lot of crime happens in the daytime. It happens while kids are at recess, or in how many shootings had happened this week, this week and last week in the morning while kids were going to school. And so it was important for us to have walkie-talkies for our student climate staff, because how do you tell the school body that now is an active shooter or is shooting at the corner when you don't have the tools to let the principal know, let the climate and let the teachers know, round the kids up? And so we had to fight for walkie-talkies. And so for us as a group, it was good for us to do it as a group. It wasn't that we just didn't say Thurgood Marshall needed a walkie-talkie. We said all 200 schools across the city of Philadelphia, those workers need walkie-talkies, because if you want them to oversee and monitor those students and keep them safe, then you got to give us the tools in order to do the job.
Right.
And it's shameful that the district had to be pushed into doing it, but we did it, but as a collective, because we also input that we keep kids safe.
Yes.
How does the district not want us to keep kids safe if you don't give us walkie-talkies?
And so that becomes a gun violence prevention
Yeah,
strategy.
That's exactly right.
When we're talking about putting investment in our communities to prevent gun violence, it's important to effectively staff those who are around our children so that they can make sure they're protected.
That's exactly right.
Yes, that is a political issue because there is really no separation between those workers who do particular kinds of jobs that have an effect on policies like gun violence prevention. I think that was an excellent example. But if
Yes,
you,
absolutely. And it's about issues not just related to working conditions, it's
Yes.
broader than that. It's
Right.
about
Yes.
the people you serve,
Right.
Yes.
right? And that's so important, right? Because we come to this work because we care,
Right,
right?
right.
It's a job, but it's also more than a job,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And so that's incredibly important. So thank you for sharing that example.
So I'm interested also in finding out any particular issues that you have had as being women of color that have moved into these leadership roles, whether within the union or outside of the union. How has that affected? How have you been affected as women of color in leading in these roles? You can speak freely here.
I think it's been interesting and challenging. You know, we do this work because we care. We care about the people that we represent. Over my career, and I think I have the longest, I've seen a shift because women of color were not in these spaces. You know, I can remember walking in meetings, being the only person of color in the meeting. And now, you know, we have women of color leading, you know, unions. So I definitely have witnessed the shift. You know, when you're in a space and you're the only one that look like that, the reception isn't well, you know, by others, be it men, be it counterparts, you know, that's not of your ethnic group. But I think that the tenacity of women to not be put in their place and to accept the challenge to move on has opened the doors for other women. And so now we stand, women of color, in places that we have worked hard to get to and won't be removed easily. I'll say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Nicole, Daisy?
I mean, I think that, you know, being in leadership, it has people have, I think, expected less from me. And so when times when you do something or they expect that you don't know much because I don't have a Harvard degree, I don't have a Yale degree. They think, but I don't need a degree to talk to my people at all.
Right.
And so I may not know how to do charts, but I know how to use my voice.
Yeah.
And so people underestimate you. And then when you do stuff, and it's just like the congratulations, like, oh, you did so well. Why would I need you to tell me that I did well? Why would I don't need that from you, but it's just like, oh, I'm so surprised that you're able to like speak and talk, you know, and it's just like, sometimes it's condescending because it's like, so you thought because you have this degree that you are smarter than me. I may not was able to go to college, but I lived the school of life.
Yeah.
And the school of life and a labor union is way more than a degree from a book. I mean, for real. And so, and so, you know, and then also I think it's challenges with people that look like me also. And let's be clear and like honest about it, because it's not you don't get the adversity from the people of a different race. Sometimes you get it from yourself because people are so used to a white person being in charge and they saying like, oh, you can't, it has to be somebody over top of you. It has to be somebody telling you, because you cannot be the one that is able to make the decision. It has to be somebody pulling your coat string and telling you what to say. You have to just be the face and somebody else is making a decision. And they can't understand that I can be the face and the decision maker at the same doggone time.
You better come on
You
with
know,
yourself.
and so it's like our folks, because they have been in the, I don't know what you call it, but it's just like white people, white is right. White is right. And so we have to train ourselves, the people that look like us, to understand that we can be in leadership roles and we can be also regular people too.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I'm in a leadership
Yes.
role, doesn't mean that I have to now be far-fetched from my neighborhood. And I don't know if I should say it, but I always say it's two sides. I'm Nicole Hunt from the Union, but I'm also Nikki from North Philly.
Yeah.
And I can be both.
Yeah.
And I can sometimes separate the two.
Yeah.
But I can also pick one.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I mean,
You better come on now.
because you got to be able to be in different spaces. I used to be intimidated being in spaces with
Yeah.
lawyers, accountants.
Yeah.
I used to worry about how I talked. I used
Yeah.
to try to talk like proper.
Yeah.
But I had to realize that I talk like Nicole Hunt, and I'm
Right.
going to continue to talk like
Right.
Nicole Hunt because I can't be nobody but her.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I had to learn that those people are no better than I am.
Yeah.
Right.
And so,
Amen.
you know, it's also us trying to change the way we feel.
Right.
And I say
Yes.
we, but I'm like
No,
change
it's
the way
true.
we
No,
feel and
it's
be in
true.
these spaces.
Yes.
Because once you accept it,
Yeah.
then you got to make everybody else accept it.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
nobody is going to accept it unless you accept yourself first.
Absolutely.
That
So-
validation,
true.
always looking for that validation
Yes.
to belong. But you don't need that validation. All you need to do is raise your voice.
Yeah.
That's
You
exactly
know?
right.
Raise the voice.
Yeah.
Y'all are speaking to me
Yeah.
right now. I'm like, I need this. Okay. And I'll tell you, like a lot of lawyers, they're just making stuff up as they go along.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't
See,
know.
I found that out. I found out that they may have a degree.
Right.
But I'm looking at them because they have a degree wondering why.
Why?
Right.
Why do you have that degree?
Yes.
Tell the truth and what?
So, you know, you find yourself trying to be accepted and validated
Yeah.
by people who should not be accepting you and validating you.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
that they're not even qualified,
Right.
you know, to validate you
Right.
or to accept you. So you have to go do the work that you know that
Yeah.
you are on the path to do.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what you do.
So I'm going to take a point of personal privilege here and say, I just was so proud of what you just said, Nicole.
I know.
We saw this in you. I mean, I've known you 10 years.
You said it.
We saw this in you 10 years ago. And to see that you just come to full flower in what we were seeing and praying and for you. I can't be more overjoyed. I didn't know that you know, that it just happened. And I'm just thankful to see the opportunities that you have been given, but also see the full flowering of the gifts that we all saw in you. So great job, great job. Daisy, you want to share anything?
No, I mean, Nicole, I think, just said it perfectly because we are our own worst critics, and we're in that room. I mean, this is what I would say about 32BJ. They have been intentional over the years to have the leadership reflect the membership. So when they approached me about it, I was happy, the happiest office manager ever. I was a receptionist, I was a bookkeeper, I did a little bit of everything. And like, keeping it real, I thought, I was like, am I gonna be a token? Is that the reason why you're approaching the Puerto Rican Latina woman in the office? But I've seen them be intentional, not only here in Philly, but everywhere else. But I still walk into, I have seen a difference. I have, I'm gonna say before COVID, there was rooms that I was walking in and I was the only woman or the person of color. And there's still a room that I walk in and I'm still that person. And the other side hasn't changed. But I keep focused on where that other room is changing, then that's where my focus is at. But when I'm in that other room, I have to be Daisy. I can't be nobody else. I can't be nobody else. But I also want to point out that I am a woman of faith. And everything that I am is because of God. He's given me that opportunity. And when I wake up every single day, sometimes I don't want to go into work and face what's coming next. You understand? But I thank him for his mercy and his grace in my life every single day, and that he continues to lift me up and just guides me, give me wisdom, because there's been many times that not too long ago, I was going through my Bible app and just prayer requests that I put down that I forgot that I put down, and I went back and I looked at them. I'm like, Lord, you came through that. And I'm like, and I remember like having sleepless nights because of that. But I do every single day. I'm like, I remember he actually retired, Larry Engelstein. He was one of our executive vice presidents. And I always try to like mirror him, like even when I was at the bargaining table. And I remember one time we were going to ratify a contract. We were going to do a strike vote. And I'm like, looking at my what comms put together for me. And he just took it out my hand. He ripped it up. He was like, you got to be Daisy. You can't be me. You can't be nobody else. You got to be me. And sometimes I still struggle with that. With that because I want to make sure that I say the right thing and that I answer it right, whatever. But this is who God made me to be, and this is all I can be. I'm not perfect, and I'm still a hot mess, and I'm probably still gonna mess up some stuff. But I'm okay to say I messed up. I'm gonna do it better or differently next time.
But you the district leader of 12,000 who are leading and
praise
raising
God, and I have an amazing team
Yes.
and an amazing membership who
Yes.
believe in my leadership.
Yes.
And not all of them like the answers that I give them, but I'm keeping it real with you though.
Right.
So we're about to close. We have a few minutes left, but I just want to hear from you all briefly. What do you see as the future of the labor movement in PA and beyond, right? Like what are the still unattained goals that we're looking to move forward? I know we've already talked about minimum wage, right? So I know that's the forefront of the mind, but what are some of the other goals and what do you see as the future of the labor movement is growing, right? So Nicole, we'll start with you.
So I guess the future of the labor movement, I see that more strikes, not for wages, but for worker protections being treated, because sometimes, like Ronnie said, it's not just about wages, it's about how you're being treated on a job, because you don't have to be disrespected in order to get a wage.
Right.
You don't have to be disrespected and take it because you need to feed your family. You can feed your family and be treated with respect at the same daggone time. And so I think people are it's going to be more emphasis on the power and shutting these places down. If these bosses don't do what they need to do, we have the power to shut them down and make it very uncomfortable for them, because you hurt them when you hurt their pockets. And so I just think the more places are going to get unionized, I think that more workers are going to, and it's going to be stages, because the parents lead the children. And so when the parents start sticking up, the children will see, because we have had more children on the picket lines and things like that. And they'll say, I remember being on the picket line. So when they go into the workforce, they know that this is what my mom or what my dad accepted, and I won't accept anything less.
So just Ronnie, about 30 seconds we have.
Sorry.
If you could just go ahead and answer the same question. No, you're great.
I think that since COVID, I think that employers are reporting record-breaking profits. I think that we are moving into an age of technology, AI, and I think that a 4-day work week would be appropriate. I really do.
Yes.
And
Spread the wealth.
Yes.
Yes.
A 4-day work week is imminent. I really do.
Yes.
You know,
Why
we're not
not?
working in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. We are in the 2023. You know, we're heading to 2030, 2040. We're not working from the times in the past. We're working for the times in the future. A 4-day work week is ready.
As long as workers' hours are protected and the wages are protected.
Yeah.
Yes, the wages.
And the
Yes,
wages
yes.
are that's
4-day work week for a 40-hour pay, right?
4-day work week for a 40-hour pay.
Yes.
Yeah. Invest in the workers.
And Daisy,
Yes.
30 seconds.
Definitely, I agree with both Nicole and Ronnie. I believe that more workers are going to just start stepping out, and that the labor movement is actually going to increase. People are tired of being tired.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we thank you all for being this incredible guest here. We're going to do this again, because we could spend a whole show just on the future of work and how that's going to be. But so I thank you for your incredible stories,
Thank you
the
for
incredible
having
work
us.
you're doing, the incredible leadership you're showing for the city of Philadelphia. And if you're out there right now and you really want to have a union, we have given you the method and the means to be able to do that going forward. Unions make the difference. Unions raises the wages. Unions save lives. Be and support union and union causes in union work. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to these incredible women who have just been here and have been wonderful and is so inspiring to so many people. You have a roadmap for leadership right here also as well, and so we just thank you so much for coming in, and we'll see you out there in the fight.
Take care.
Struggle continues,
Yes.
right?
When we fight, we win.